Config APAC. Thank you so much to everyone joining us, especially those who flew in this morning. I appreciate you all being here so much, and it's so great to see you all. All right, let's get to it. Our journey in Asia started pretty slow. Back when Figma was just a new tool on the block, this is one of our first meetups in India. You'll notice we had an entire 1 like and 1 retweet. But we kept coming back, and y'all were so welcome and so gracious to have us. It's really good to be back in Singapore. This is actually some pictures from a little over 4 years ago, pre-pandemic, one of our first meetups at Grab. Is there anyone from Grab in the audience? Okay, so like half of you, perfect. Anyway, it's great to build long-lasting relationships with teams like Grab and amazing designers like Zoe and Shen over all these years. And I'm looking forward to building those kinds of relationships with many of you here today and getting to know a bunch of you. So I can't wait to say hi afterwards and hope you'll come up and do that with me. Today we have offices in Singapore and Japan. We have 72 Friends of Figma groups across Asia with more than 20,000 Friends of Figma members, which is just incredible to think about, and I feel so lucky to be part of this community with all of you. And I'm so excited to bring our first ever international config here to Singapore today. We have seen just so much leadership here in design and also in digital transformation. Figma's APAC community is the fastest growing in the world. We want to learn from all of you and also bring the community together so that you can learn from each other as well. And as we come together as a community and we reflect on the impact that design has had on tech, on history, on humanity, on the world, so much of that has come from Asia. And we can't wait to see, I can't wait to see the innovations of the next 10 years ahead that all of you will bring. Now, all of this innovation is made possible by people who constantly push on what's possible, who are always asking the question, what if there is a better way? And our community in this room is full of people like that. People who have inspired us with their creativity and who push the limits of what is possible. For example, front developer Shen Yi, based in Shanghai, pushes what's possible with 3D renderings in Figma. He builds the Vector 3D plugin that enables anyone to turn text and vectors into 3D objects with just 1 click. Vijay Verma's playful experimentation with bold and detailed illustrations, plugins, and tutorials have left us in total awe and pushed everyone to see what's possible for Figma with illustration. When I first saw some of Vijay's work, I just could not actually believe it was done in Figma. I just immediately jumped in. I'm like, what did he do? Definitely check it out in the Figma community if you haven't already. Product engineer Li Chin Lin created Curve Text, a plugin which extends the functionality of Figma for the ability to add type on a preset path or a custom curve. And he's been making amazing plugins and tutorials for the Taiwanese community and the world. And product designer Akansha Murtha brings new photo editing capabilities to Figma, such as her fractal glass effect plugin. Over the last year, we were inspired by all of you. We tried our best to keep up, so we released a bunch of new updates. For example, FigJam AI, compare changes redesign, annotations in dev mode. We did a bunch of performance improvements, for example, incremental page loading. And we sped up large file loads on average by 33% and reduced the size of file content on average by 70%. So hopefully you've seen some of those dramatic improvements and you're able to do even more in Figma than before. We added typography support for variables. And of course, multi-edit. It's not just the big things, but also it has to be the small things too, such as page dividers. I think we've had this request since like literally day one. Today, I'm excited to share even more updates to support that end-to-end process of product building, getting ideas all the way from your head and in FigJam and brainstorming and ideation, all the way to code and production in dev mode. This year, our launches are centered around 4 themes. First, reducing complexity. Figma has grown much too complex over the years. How do we keep it simple for all of you and for our new users? Second, a better developer experience in Figma and Figma dev mode. Third, introducing AI to Figma design. And fourth, Figma slides for better storytelling. Now, to introduce our first theme, I want to please welcome Yuhki Yamashita, Figma's Chief Product Officer, to the stage. Hey, Yuhki. All right, Yuhki, we are always talking about simplicity in our product reviews, yes, so I will leave you to it and get off the stage.
All right, thanks.
Good luck.
All right, thanks, everyone. It's good to see you. All right, so it's true, Dylan has always cared a lot about simplicity. And to his credit, this is what Figma looked like 8 years ago, right? And I don't know about you, I wasn't around, but this feels pretty simple and intuitive, right? But over the years, since then, he kept asking me to add more and more things, like auto layout, variants, component props, variables, and more. And these are all powerful features that many of you love, but it's made our product feel more complex, more intimidating. So much so that someone last year actually tweeted this. I want to see Config 2024, where they announce what they are removing rather than features that we're adding. And this definitely made us think. And we totally get where Dan is coming from, because it's something that many of you in the community have told us as well. So we took this to heart and looked at every single aspect of Figma and thought about how we can make it less complicated, more intuitive. And so the first thing that we tackled was the core experience and interface. And we started with a complete redesign of the editor, which we call UI 3. So today, I want to walk you through some of the key changes, as well as explain some of the thinking behind the improvements that we made. So in order to do that, I'm going to enter a quick demo. All right, so we are now inside Figma Design, and you're seeing UI 3. And one of the first things that you'll notice is that there's a very immersive experience, right? And what we're currently in is something called the minimized UI state, right? And it's one of my favorite modes because it puts my work front and center. But when I need to go and edit something and select something, the right UI pops up just in time, right? The properties panel. And if I click on something else, it comes in and out, right? So it's a really easy way for me to keep focused. Now, this isn't the default view. The default view looks something like this, right? With your pages and layers and something that feels more familiar. But one of the things that we thought about is how can we get you into this focused state in the right moments? So for example, maybe if I'm following someone, I see Raji in the file right here, right? There he is. Oh, what's up, Raji? We let the UI recede because chances are you really want to focus on the work itself, right? You want to focus on what your teammate is doing. All right, so we're going to go back over here. Now, one of the reasons we did this was because we had a principle. We had a principle that said that the most important thing is actually your content, your design, not our Chrome or our UI, right? And so, one of the things that we did is we made all of the UI feel like they're floating, like the panels and the toolbars, and that they can push away really easily so you can enter this focus state, that you can get into flow state faster. And that's one of the things that motivated some other changes in this UI as well. So another thing that you'll see is this toolbar that's on the bottom right here. And there are 2 new capabilities that we've added. The first one is what we're calling actions. So actions is where you'll see all these AI capabilities that we will talk about in a second. But the way I think about it is it's kind of your new command center. Your command center where you can add a lot of AI actions, but you can also search for anything. And you'll see all the commands that are possible within Figma, all within reach from your keyboard, which in many cases is much more efficient and more ergonomic. Now, the other thing that was added here is this switcher or this toggle down here. And you'll notice that right now I'm in design mode. If I click it, I go quickly into dev mode, which is really nice. Or if I go over here to this new tab, you'll see our new product, Figma Slides, which you'll hear about in a second. Right now, I'm in presentation mode and slides mode. But if I go here, I can quickly go into design mode so I can get all the tools that I need that I'm really used to that are powerful in design right within the deck product. And so you'll notice as I go between these different modes, between these different products, we all use the same UI patterns, or UI3 patterns, because we wanted to make it feel familiar, make it feel seamless as you go between products and different modes. And over the years, we're going to add more and more modes and products, which we're really excited about. All right, so I'm going to go back here. One of the areas that we really focused on as well as we thought about how to simplify the UI was our properties panel. So if I click here, you'll notice we have all these properties on the right. And over the years, as we've added more and more features, this has gotten more complicated. So the first thing we thought about was, OK, how do we make it so that it feels more intuitive, that we have more intuitive groupings? But the most important thing is, depending on what you're doing, how can we make sure that the most important actions are the ones that are surfaced first? So for example, if I select this component over here, you'll notice that at the very top is everything that is important to that component, like the variants and the properties, because chances are those are the things that you care about. And we've let some of the other things be a little bit more hidden and reseeded. Now, of course, when you're looking at properties like this, oftentimes you get these long property names. And now we can actually resize the properties panel so you can actually view what's in there, which is really nice. All right, so those are some of the usability improvements as part of the core experience. But we also focused on things outside of the interface, things that were hard features that many of you have told us have felt really intimidating. And a good example of that is auto layout. So I don't know about you, but whenever I'm trying to set up auto layout, I feel like I'm always wrestling with it. It feels like a math puzzle that I have to solve, right? And an example of this is this card, right? This card, I want it to be responsive, but it currently isn't. So maybe what I'll do is add auto layout. Now, it looks a little bit wrong, and so I'm going to cycle through a few other ones. Maybe it's a vertical stack, horizontal layout, but none of these are quite right. And the reason for that is it's because it's trying to put it into one singular stack or one auto layout. And the reality is you want something a little bit more complex. But it's a lot of work to try to figure that out. And now we actually have made it so that if you right-click on this card, you'll see this thing called More Layout Options. And if you click Suggest Auto Layout, it quickly makes all these frames. Thank you. You'll notice that all these nested auto layouts are created for you. And of course, it's responsive, which is really nice. Thank you. And so just with one click, without me needing to figure out if I need some combination of horizontal or vertical auto layouts, I can just get it done. And this is a simple example. And it works for something a little bit more sophisticated, too. So for example, here's a website design, right? And this is not responsive, right? Everything is absolutely positioned. But again, here too, if I just go to More Layout Options and click Suggest Layout, then it just works, which is really nice. So, auto layout, easier than ever before. Now I'm going to go into the next math puzzle, which is this one. So let's say we have these cards here, and these cards are already responsive, which is great. And what I'm going to do is drop this into this UI. Now, this is looking good, and I want to make sure that this is responsive, but oh, wait, right? Everything is not resizing. And one of the things that when I encounter this is I kind of sometimes get confused. Do I have to change the children element, like these cards, and a property on that, or is it the parent that I have to fix? Right? I see a lot of you nodding, right? It's really complicated, and chances are you just try all of them and see what works. And now what you can do is you can select this card, right? And you can just drag it to the very front, and you'll see this actually snap, right? And once it snaps, we understand your intent, and we just make it responsive for you, which is really nice. Thank you. Now, one of the things I'm going to now do is look at this in prototype view. And traditionally, in prototype view, if I just make it bigger, it just does this, which is not particularly useful. But now, you have this setting called responsive. And with this, you'll notice that in prototype view 2, you can validate your designs. All right, now the last puzzle of auto layout. Oftentimes what I want to do is I have buttons like these, and I want them in the corner of the designs. So what I do is I drag them in here, right? But because it has auto layout, it does this, right? It gets sucked into this auto layout, and I never want it to actually stack like this. So now all I have to do is when I'm dragging it, I hold down Control, and if I just do that and let go, it gets absolutely positioned, which makes it really easy, so you don't have to wrestle with this. So that's another thing that we've made as an improvement to auto layout. All right, so that was on auto layout. The last thing I want to quickly show you is this. So one of the things that if you're like me, you're not trying to start from scratch. You're trying to start from something that's really familiar. And so if you go into the Assets panel now, you'll see 3 libraries that are already there out of the box. The iOS library made by Apple, the Material Design library made by Google, and the Simple Design System, which is really great for websites that we've gone ahead and made. So if you look at the Material Design library, you'll see that we have it really well organized. We've actually improved the browsing experience of libraries too. So for example, now you can go into cards and maybe grab a card that has great auto layout already built into it. Or we also have a lot of example screens that you can use that you can work off of. And so we've gone ahead and done that over here. We've created a very simple app using these design kits, and we were able to make this within a few seconds, which is really great. So this is really fast, and I love that. But one of the things that I really enjoy about this is if I go into this dev mode and select some of these components, let's say this list item, what you'll see is thanks to Code Connect, which is a new feature that we've launched, we also see the reference implementation in code, in this case in Jetpack Compose. So you'll see how it's instantiated in code from here, right? Or if I select this header element in the iOS example, you'll notice that it works in Swift UI as well. So the hope is with something like this, right, it's really easy to build these apps, these native apps, because the design and code are connected in a way it never has before. So those are some of the improvements that I wanted to show you today. And I just wanted to do a quick note on UI3. So UI3 is a big rethink of our core interface. And as part of that, we want to be careful and thoughtful about the rollout. So in the next few weeks, what we're going to do is roll out very slowly to a small group. We're also going to open it up as a wait list for those of you who are interested in participating. And that way, during this period, we're going to get a lot of feedback from you. We're also going to let people switch back and forth between the new and old UI, just in case the new UI isn't quite working for you. And by the end of it, we're hoping that we've gotten a lot of feedback from you. We've made it so much better so that we can roll it out to everybody. And so the way to do that is this help icon over here. If you're in the old UI, you'll see an ability to sign up for the waitlist for UI3. And if you're in the new UI, you can opt out from here. All right, so that's it for some of the usability improvements I wanted to preview. And I'm going to hand it back to Dylan. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Good job. All right, thank you, Yuhki. To quickly recap, you just saw our new redesigned UI, suggest auto layout, and also UI kits. I want to speak with you about one more thing as well, which is billing and sharing. This is another area that we believe we can simplify quite a lot. In particular, we need to focus on some of these workflows. We build Figma for many different personas: freelancers, small agencies, startups, as well as large enterprises. And we've made it easy for startups and large enterprises to collaborate within Figma. We've always focused on product teams and that ease of collaboration getting someone into a file. But for freelancers and agencies who might be working with many different clients, we have some gaps, such as extra cost when you add collaborators from outside of your team to work with. And today I want to share how we plan to start closing those gaps over the months and 6 months ahead. First thing we're focused on is connecting your workspaces. So the working name for this is Figma Connect. We also have Code Connect, so that name might change. But you can kind of think of it such as similar to Slack Connect. Figma Connect will let you work with external clients in a new shared workspace, using just your existing Figma seats. So we hope to launch this in early 2025. Second, we want to solve for the transfer of projects from agency to client. We know there's a lot of ways that we can improve this workflow. So for example, today, if you're an agency and you have a project, you're trying to move it to a client, making it easier to save your work, and making it easier to downgrade collaborators when you make that change, so there's no unexpected billing for the client. And our goal is to ship these improvements in the months ahead. Lastly, we want to bring more clarity and control to billing. So I want to make you aware of 2 changes that we've recently added to make sure that we're all in the loop about that. So first, you can improve the cadence of notifications for editor upgrades, and that way you're never caught by surprise. Second, if you don't want to make it so that you can just quickly add someone to a file, but instead you want the control and the ability to always approve as an admin, you now have the choice to require admin approval for each editor upgrade. You can just go right here, and instead of going from full, you can go to viewer restricted and make it so that you're able to do that for your entire org by default. If you prefer the current frictionless on-ramps, you can just leave it the way it is. But if you'd like to move to a world where you're able to have very precise control, that is an options available for everyone. And one of our top priorities for our team is to continue improving our billing system. So you're going to see a lot more in the months and year ahead on that topic. And we'll continue to communicate with our community about that. All right. So we just talked a lot about how we're evolving Figma for our core users. Now I want to dive into how we're making Figma better for developers. Really excited about all the launches you've seen this year with Dev Mode, and to speak more about some of the improvements that we've been making, as well as the improvements that we just launched at Config, I'd like to welcome Figma Engineering Manager Noga Man to the stage. Thank you, Noga.
Thank you, Dylan. And hi, everyone. It's so good to be with you here today. At Config 2023, we launched Dev Mode as a way for Figma to better serve developers and help designers and developers stay on the same page. Since then, over 4 million designs have been marked ready for dev. We also launched some improvements to Dev Mode, like annotation tools and a revamped compare changes. These releases and the hundreds of other improvements have all been driven by you, our community. We wouldn't have been where we are today without your feedback. So thank you, and please keep it coming. So what's next? Last week, we introduced some huge updates to Dev Mode to support the realities of an iterative design process. To simplify inspection of large files, making it easier to find what you need, and to bring your code and design closer together. With that, I'm going to jump in so I can show you some of what's new. Now, this file might look familiar to some of you. Riffs, ideas, and a lot of work in progress. This might look a bit messy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, as good design requires a lot of iteration. And speaking of iteration, this file has some designs that were previously marked as ready for dev, but edits were made to them. Previously, it wasn't that clear when edits were done. But now, we have a new change status, as you can see here with the yellow indicator. When I'm done making changes, I can add a note with some context. Like, in this case, I added some spacing. Whoops. And I can remark it as ready for dev. To make it even easier to find what you're looking for, especially when designs are scattered across different pages, we introduced a new Ready for Dev view. You can find it right here on the top left corner of every file that has Ready for Dev content. This view shows me sections and frames that are ready to be worked on in one predictable view, regardless of how the file was set up. By default, it is sorted by recent activity, so I can quickly see what recently changed. For example, I can see the note we just added about the spacing changing. let's click into that design to have a closer look. This brings us to Focus View. Focus View cuts all the canvas clutters and shows me just what I need for implementation. On the right-hand side, I can see all the previous versions of this design. If I want to, I can choose to inspect an older version or compare changes to see the differences. When I'm done making my changes in code, I can mark the design as completed and let my teammates know of its status and close the loop. We hope these new ready for dev flows will help you and your teams better stay aligned throughout this messy process. But this process doesn't end in Figma. Your designs also have to maintain consistency when they go to code and eventually to your customers. And many of you rely on design systems for that. But all the benefits of a design system really go out the window if your developers aren't using that as well. One of the reasons it is difficult for developers today is that what they see in Figma doesn't always map to what they have in code. We can see an example right here. If I inspect this input component, it's not immediately obvious to me that it already has an implementation in our code base. And the last thing we want is for someone to rewrite the same component, wasting time, missing design details, and maybe forgetting about important things like accessibility. This is why we build Code Connect. Code Connect is a way for you to bring your design system into dev mode. Once connected, you will see code from your design system when you inspect a component in Figma. Let's see what that looks like. If we inspect this button right here, since it's been connected, I see the right code surfaced for me in the right-hand panel, which is the right code we actually want to use. Let me open the component playground to have a closer look. Here, I can toggle the different variants and props of this component, and you can see how the code dynamically changes to reflect the design. We believe Code Connect is going to really help teams drive adoption of their design system. A couple of weeks ago, we sat down with the team over at Spotify to hear about their experience with Code Connect. Let's play that video.
When it came out and I did this big Slack post, I was like, forget developing something internally. Let's just go all in on Code Connect. And all the emojis, everybody's like, yes, no brainer, just do it, just do it. And we very quickly, within those 2 days, turned around implementing it for the entire design system. We were able to make an assessment that Code Connect will save engineers time. We were able to see that the ROI made it a no-brainer to continue rolling out Code Connect across the other engineering disciplines.
A huge thanks to the team at Spotify. Hearing about their experience with Code Connect and how quickly they set it up was so exciting. OK, so that was a lot of new functionality for dev mode. Let's recap. Code Connect is now out of beta with new improvements like surfacing connected code in the component playground, a faster setup process, and support for React, React Native, iOS, and Android. We also launched the new Ready for Dev View, Focus View, and new statuses. And that wraps it up for me and dev mode. I'm excited to now invite to the stage my colleague, Jordan Singer, to tell you all about AI for Figma design.
All right. Hi, I'm Jordan, a product designer at Figma, working on AI. As Yuhki mentioned earlier, Actions is the new home for our AI features. Our approach to bringing AI into the Figma editor is to address real pain points that get in the way of your flow so that you can focus on your workflow and craft and explore more of the option space. Today, I'll show you features that help you from everything from getting started with the most obvious solution in the most obvious form possible to helping you finding what you're looking for, and a bunch of features that help you stay in the flow. So you can bring in business context, user insights, and creative approaches to your designs that you need to be a differentiator. Let's dive right in to a demo. Great. So getting started can sometimes be the hardest part. And I'm going to jump over to this page here. You can use this feature to unblock yourself at the very beginning and get started with an idea or some inspiration and quickly explore variations. It's just the very start of how we want to put more tools in your hands, and we're excited to show you a new feature called Make Designs with you today. Now, let me get out of dev mode. I've heard that durian is really tasty and popular around here. Now, I haven't tried it yet myself, so I wanted to make an app to help me figure out where I can find it. I'm going to go to the Sparkle menu and choose Make Designs. And here I'm going to enter a prompt for an app to find durian nearby that has a map, so with a map, and restaurant card, so I can see what the top options are. And I'm going to press Make It. Now, this result is going to stream in real time onto the canvas. It's going to understand what components to pull in. So here I see I've got a map. It's starting to place some components for restaurants with cards. It's starting to fill in the images, give some names for different durian restaurants. Great. Now, I've got an awesome starting point that I can use to take and riff on. What's really great about Make Designs is that I can choose from a couple of different themes that come right out of the box. So it defaulted to this yellow one here. I can choose this blue one, and you can kind of see how it affects the entirety of the generation. This dark mode one is kind of cool. But I think in the theme of durian, I'm going to stick with this yellow one. Now, I can also press Make Changes to get a little bit more fine-tuned style in my designs. I'm going to press Make Changes here. I've got even more color options, so red or blue or green. I kind of like this green one. I can switch between dark and light mode automatically. I can tweak properties like radius that apply to the whole entire generation. So as I move this slider, let me zoom in. As I move this slider, notice how the corner radius of different elements update across my entire design. I kind of like this slightly rounded look. I can change things like spacing. So I can go much, much tighter or a little bit looser. I like something that's a little bit in between. And last but not least, I can change the font of the generation. So it came up with this font here by default. And I can cycle through different options, again, that apply across the entirety of the generation. I quite like this one. Great. Now I've got a perfect starting point for my design. And just like that, I've used Make Designs to get some ideas for my durian app. I'll let you know how it tastes later. So that was Figma AI and Make Designs, and we're only just getting started. We're so excited to continue building this with you, the community, for and with you, our community. All right, moving on. So Make Designs is great when you're starting fresh, but sometimes you're riffing on an existing design. Now, another way to get started is to find what you need across Figma. We know that finding things can be hard in Figma. Let's say I work at Grab. Shout out to Grab in the audience, wherever you are. Awesome, a lot of you. And I want to find the original design for this image of a screenshot of something I took, and I want the real functional layers. Now you notice if I zoom in, this is clearly an image. So, using Figma AI, I have the image on the canvas. I can go to the Sparkle menu and choose Search for Similar. Now this is going to use AI to look across all of my org and team to find designs that are visually similar to the image that I just uploaded. And this one is looking like almost like an identical match, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that. Great. Now I've got the real functional layers, and I can tweak whatever I'd like, just like that. Now, I want to find the next screen in this flow. I'm going to shift back over here and press Shift-I. I'm not quite sure what this screen is called. And again, we said, finding things in Figma can sometimes be hard. But I know how to describe it in words. So I'm going to switch over here to search for other designs and say a pickup map. Figma AI looks across the designs in my org and finds something that's visually similar using a natural language description. And I see I've got this pickup map example here. Again, I can drag that in, and I've got the real functional layers on the canvas that I can tweak however I'd like. So next, let's say, let me edit this real quick. Let's say that I'm searching for that target icon that helps me zoom into my current location. I don't know quite what the design systems library named it, and another really cool thing is that I can actually use the pencil tool to draw what it looks like on the canvas to find it across my team. Now I'm going to do my best. I'm not very good at the pencil tool, so bear with me. I'm going to do my best imitation of one of those target icons with a little circle and some lines here. And I'm going to group that object. And once again, I'll go back to the Sparkle menu and choose Search for Similar. I'm going to sort by components. And you can see I've found an exact match. I found the exact match for what I was looking for. So I can drop that instance directly on the canvas and insert it wherever I want in my design to get to riffing. Awesome. Another piece of visual search is, let's say I'm using this example where I'm in search of a new admin dashboard, and I'd like to find one to get started with. We all know how much work it is to set up auto layout and tables to create a dashboard, but it turns out we have tons of great assets across our community that can serve as a starting point. So I'm going to go back to Shift-I here, and you'll notice this community tab that lets me search designs across the community. Now, looking for this admin dashboard, I'm just going to type that in. It'll search across all of the files in the community that give me admin dashboard UIs. And I get this great list of results so I can browse. This one is looking kind of cool. And again, I'm just going to drop that in right there. Perfect. And I've got the real functional layers that I can take and adjust my dashboard however I'd like. Awesome. So our approach to bringing Figma AI into the editor is to help with real pain points that we all face as product builders. We've shown you ways to get started or find what you need at the right time, hoping to keep you in that creative flow. We've also built a handful of ways that AI can allow you to iterate faster and sweat those details that we care about, but perhaps take us a little bit too much time to reasonably pursue. Let's dive in and see some of these efficiency features in action. So, jumping over to this page here, let's imagine I'm a designer working at Trivet, a social recipe sharing app. Now, I'm making some edits to our recipe detail page and adding new ingredients in this list design, as well as some reviews and ratings features. In this case, I have this list of ingredients here, and you can see this main component, and I'm starting to build out this ingredients list. And traditionally, I'd like to fill it out, but that would take me a lot of manual time. And I want to make this mock really realistic with varying ingredients that match what I'm looking for. So now, with Figma AI, I've got this instance in an auto layout stack, and when I duplicate it just a few times, I get this suggestion from Figma AI to replace content. And it's going to fill it with relevant contextual information in my list. Now, that's just one way to use this feature. We've also built this on-canvas UI. So if you see in my layer structure over here, I've got this auto layout container with the ingredients in it. And you might notice this little drag handle. When I hover, it's this resize with sparkles. All I need to do is click and drag, and it'll fill out my ingredients for me, just like that. Great. So this design is starting to come to life a little bit more. Now, I want this recipe to be about chicken fried rice. So I'll change the title to that. Now, you'll notice this image is a placeholder, and I also want to bring in a realistic-looking image to help fill out my mock. So I can select this image component, go back to the Sparkle menu, and choose Make an Image. And I just want to fill it with some chicken fried rice. I'll press Make It, and it's going to give me a few different options of chicken fried rice that it's generating with AI. Awesome. So I've got 4 different options to choose from here, and I can see them as I click through in context in my mock. I quite like this one, so that's the one I'm going to go with. The last piece of the screen that's not quite complete is this recipe description. Now, how many times have we had these placeholder like lorem ipsum strings and just had to think or reach out to the internet to find some text that we could copy to make our mock come to life? Well, now with Figma AI, we can also replace text. So I'm going to select that text layer, go to the Sparkle menu, and choose Rewrite This. Now, all I'm going to say is a description of chicken fried rice, and it'll generate me a real description, just like that. Great. Now there's one last little thing I want to do to this mock I'm working on, which is to remove the background of this image of this chef avatar to really make my design pop. All I need to do is select that image, go back to the Sparkle menu, and choose Remove Background. It's going to work to remove the background and differentiate it from the foreground. And just like that, I've removed the background, and my mock is looking even better. So I want to make sure that my design can handle lots of different languages because I know it's going to be available in different countries. And what I can do is translate my design into other languages with AI. I'm going to click on the Sparkle menu, with the design selected, and choose Translate To. In this case, I want to see what it looks like in Korean, for example. And with AI, it's going to translate in real time. Now, I've spotted a tiny little problem, which is that the text here is getting truncated. And luckily, I'm using a component in this case, so I can adapt my design just like that. Great. Things are looking pretty good. Awesome. We'll come back to that later. So, I don't know about you, but I'm not someone who names my layers. And as you can see on the left-hand side panel, I've got a bunch of really random layer names here. Now, wouldn't it be great if AI could just do this for us? Well, let's take a look. So, with this screen selected, I go back to the Sparkle menu and choose Rename Layers. Now, before I do this, I want you to pay really close attention to the left-hand layer panel. Ready? It's so fun. So our mock-up is looking so much more real now. And I've been making some changes to our recipe details and reviews flow if I scroll over here. And I want to be able to present this to some of my team to feel it out with an interactive prototype. Now, I could go through the painstaking process of manually dragging some of my layers one by one, but again, what if AI could do that for us? So I've got this flow here, and all I need to do is select the set of screens that I want to have AI do an initial pass on a prototype of, go back to the Sparkle menu, and there's another option to make prototype. Now watch, one by one, as noodles are drawn by AI, connecting different buttons to different screens, and creating my interactive prototype for me. That saved me a lot of time. Now let's check out this prototype. I've got this little preview button here, and I can see my prototype in context of my design and click through and see how it did. So as I click through to different buttons, like add a review, I see it goes to the review screen. I see the back button works. I see it goes to the search screen and other screens. And I've got a basic version of my prototype wired up just by using Figma AI. Now, one last little detail that I wanted to show you was, once again, that amazing responsive viewer. So if I go to preview this screen and choose responsive, I can see my design adapt to auto layout inline, just like that. Great. So that wraps up all of the demos. I'm really excited for you to use all of these new features, and I can't wait to hear your feedback. OK, Dylan, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. I was clapping behind the stage when we did the name layers. All right. All of the AI features that you just saw are now in beta. So you can opt in very easily, and it'll roll out along with UI 3. Now, just transparently, we don't know how many people are going to use this yet, how they will use it, how frequently. And so we don't know the underlying cost of this yet. And so this year, we're just going to absorb the cost of this for 2024. And then we'll start charging in 2025. We'll be very transparent about how we do that once we know what that'll look like. All right. The generative features today that you've seen have all been built with off-the-shelf models. And as you try these features out, you'll see they're a good start, but there's so much more we can do to accelerate you further. So there's a lot of context and nuance around design that today's models, LLMs that you can get off the shelf, just don't have. And to build the most useful AI for design and for designers, we need to develop models that better understand design concepts and patterns and how to apply them in Figma. And I think that the more you use these features, you'll see this. One example is our design generation feature. It's a good start, but what you really want is for it to work with your own design system. And to make that happen, we need to train Figma AI models on the way that design systems are built. We see a world where the rudimentary design generation features that you just saw today can evolve into a way for you to explore the entire option space of possibilities. And we think this can aid designers in the design process. This will be a way for you to rapidly navigate that idea maze that as a designer you face every day. When I think about design, you're trying to sort through all the possible paths that you have. And you're trying to find the one that balances the constraints and the context you have in just the right way. How do we make it so that you're better equipped to do that, especially in an age where you can go from prompt to working software with an off-the-shelf LLM? How do we empower designers to be even better than a model? There's so many ways that we can do that. We have to make the best tools possible. And to get there, we need to start training on Figma data. So we want to share our approach with you in the most transparent way that we can. So literally, here are the settings. These settings rolled out last week, and admins can control them. They are not going to go into effect until August 15th. So if you're on the fence, or you want to better understand things, you're welcome to check out all of our policy pages. We have blog posts on this, and you can look at our terms of service, privacy policy, whatever you want. Or you can just uncheck them. That's fine, too. Starter and professional plans are opted into content training by default, but they're welcome to opt out. And due to contractual agreements, organization and enterprise plans are opted out by default. Now, regardless of whether you opt in or you opt out, we are committed to protecting your data and respecting your privacy. And we're going to do a lot to make sure that we have a robust redaction pipeline and make sure that nothing that you input into our systems is able to resurface in any way. And you can read more about our approach on our blog, which is on our website. OK, you just saw Figma AI, and this is just a start. There are so many more opportunities that we can use systems like this to help designer workflows. In addition to AI, we showed you the redesigned Figma editor and new updates to dev mode, including the GA of Code Connect. Our fourth update is our new product, Figma Slides. So everyone, please welcome Mahika Kapoor to the stage. Welcome, Mahika.
Hello, Config APAC. I'm so excited on behalf of the Figma Slides team to be sharing our new product with you and to be unveiling some very special features. So before we get into it, you know, Dylan in SF, people were pretty confused at Config.
Were they?
Yeah, you know, like, is it Figma Slides or is it Flides?
Mahika, we talked about this, and you are the one who's confused. It is definitely Figma Slides. Anyway, I'll leave you to it. Good luck with the demo.
OK, so now that Dylan is gone, we can talk about Flides. Over the years, we've seen many of you use Figma in unexpected ways. In fact, in the last 1 year alone, we saw over 3.5 million slide decks made inside of Figma Design. Show of hands, how many of you made a deck inside of Figma or received a deck inside of Figma? Well, we commend you for presenting without speaker notes for all these years. Now, all too often, your slides inside of Figma look a little something like this. You have prototyping noodles that you've painstakingly wired up, only to realize that the second that you swap two slides with each other, everything is completely out of order. You have speaker notes that are littered across the entire canvas, and perhaps most painful of all, the second you need to collaborate with the rest of your cross-functional team, you're going to be exporting your slides and mocks one by one into another tool. And yet you still build in Figma. Figma Slides combines the visual fidelity of Figma and channels it in a form that it's purpose-built for storytelling. After all, visual communication is the most powerful form of storytelling. So now we're going to slide on into a demo. All right. I'm going to start by demoing 3 new flows that we actually did not demo in SF. Woo! OK, so to everyone who just raised your hand, you may have slides in Figma that look like this. And what we're going to do today is recreate the keynote file that we're presenting. So let's say it's 1 year ago, and we're building our slides inside of Figma Design instead of Figma Slides. A lot of people have asked me, hey, I have so many slides in Figma. How do I bring them into Figma Slides? And the answer is actually like maybe a little bit too obvious, which is you can select all of the slides, copy, and paste them right into a new Figma Slides file. And what you see is that each row in your grid inside of Figma will map to a stack inside of Figma Slides. And when you go into the grid view, you'll see that we have preserved the order of your entire deck and give you the ability to easily reorder both rows as well as slides. Alrighty. the next flow. Let's say we haven't really gotten over to the visuals of the process, and we're just in the ideation phase. Well, we actually started out this keynote by hopping into a FigJam file together and jotting down our ideas. And what you'll notice if I go over to my pages panel inside of FigJam is that we have isolated the Figma slides flow on its own. And now it's normally pretty tedious to go from your ideas into a deck, and so we've made it easy for you with a brand new AI feature that will be launching in a few months. So if I go ahead and right-click on my page, I have the ability to create Figma slides outline. And when I go into Figma slides, I can pick from one of my many org templates, this one's looking pretty great to me, to generate an outline as a starting point for me to get my deck started. So what you can see here is that we have this nice animation, and we have a flow about introducing slides, complete with the key features of slides, such as the editor UI and templates, along with the live demo that we are doing today and a recap that Dylan's going to come out and do next. The third way to get started is directly inside of Figma slides. So what you'll see here is that we have a template dropdown that allows you to pick from a gallery of templates that have been made by a variety of agencies, as well as our internal Figmates. So if I want to go ahead and add a slide from this user research session, I can do so here. And if I want to swap it into the same style as the rest of my presentation, that is just one click of a button for the colors and the fonts to snap into place. Now, lastly, we're going to walk through the three areas inside of Figma slides that we were most focused on. First is helping you with your structure. So you already saw how the grid view gives you a bird's eye view into your presentation. And that's not it. We also have an AI feature called Tone Dial that allows you to go professional and expanded with just the touch of a button, and concise and casual equally easily. The second is visuals. We've made it incredibly simple for someone to go ahead, swap their slide background color, and you'll see that the text changed colors with it automatically, so that anyone, regardless of their level of design prowess, is able to hop into the tool and get started. We also give designers the ability to hop into design mode and tackle some of the more complex features. So if I want to pop on an auto layout, that is just the click of a button. If I want to go ahead and edit this vector curve, I can go right ahead. And if I want to toggle into this text and edit the hanging punctuation, that too is just right here. And what I see is when I go back into slides mode, all the edits that I've just made stay with me. Last but not least, we thought a lot about the presentation. Now, while I'm so excited about all the creation features that we built inside of Figma slides, I am even more excited about how we have rethought the presentation. Now, a lot of times when I'm giving a product review, I sort of feel like I'm speaking to a wall, and most of the time, people stop paying attention. And so, if anyone ever wants to pull in a prototype, not only do they need to deal with mocks and stills and re-recording and re-recording, but you have the ability to directly pull in any prototype and present right on your screen. And I can go ahead in the slide deck and interact with this prototype of Figma slides in our mobile app. So if I want to click on the keynote file, pop open the comments, I can do so just like that. Second is we've brought in a variety of polls, alignment scales, and more that allow people to focus and express their excitement. So if I can go ahead and say, I'm excited for Figma slides, and if I were to disperse this link to others, they would be able to hop in as well. Last but not least, we have our beloved alignment scale, and we can vote on whether or not slides is, in fact, the superior name for this product. I think it is.
Thank you, thank you. This is an excellent presentation, great demo. Thank you. I'm just gonna, there we go. All right, we cannot wait for all of your feedback on Figma Slides. Figma Slides is now in beta, and we have an amazing gallery of templates created by some incredible designers that you can all use and your team can use too. And of course, your team can also go and create templates of your own. It's free for everyone to use through the beta period in 2024. And in early 2025, Figma Slides will continue to be free on starter plans, and it'll be $3 or $5 a month, depending on your paid plan. To learn more about these new products and features, check out additional talks from Jordan, Mahika, and Noga later today. We also have demos later today in the makerspace, right behind us, and we'll have a lot of great content for you throughout the day. Seriously, the speakers are incredible, and I can't wait for you to hear from them. Before I do move on to that, a few more highlights. We couldn't squeeze everything into today's keynote, so one other highlight is for our desktop app, which we now have a redesigned desktop app tab strip, an updated new tab experience, as well as a new file experience in the file browser. I think you'll like it. And as Mahika hinted, for FigJam, you can now add multiple pages to a FigJam board. This has already totally changed the way that we use FigJam at Figma, and so can't wait for all of you to check it out. All right, we shared a lot with you today, and hopefully you got a feel for not only what we've built, but why we have built it. So as we close, I want to share some parting thoughts with you all. It's been absolutely incredible to witness this exponential trend of software throughout the world. And I believe that exponential trend will only continue over the coming years ahead. For products to stand out, they have to be unique, and they must avoid the obvious solutions. Craft will be the differentiator, your craft. For us at Figma, craft is both seen and felt. And we know that we need to continuously raise our bar to meet yours. This means continuing to expand not only the breadth of our capabilities, but also we need to keep improving the quality of the software that you use every day. So lastly, I want to give a few shout-outs. Everything you saw today would not have been possible without the tireless work of our Figmates. Please join me in giving a round of applause to the Figma team. And to the Figma APAC community, I'm so excited to figure out the future of design and development with all of you. I want to thank you for being here with me today, and I hope to meet and learn from many of you more, while I'm here in Singapore. Thank you. Enjoy Config APAC.